Men of Reddit. What's the creepiest thing a woman has ever said to you? A few years ago I started hanging out with this girl who was around my friend group at the time, and came to trivia nights with us occasionally. Things were going well at first, but then I started noticing some odd signs. She never slept. She would do bizarre things like start her shower, then go start cooking food, then sit down and begin tending her plants as if she kept forgetting what task she was doing. She put a sign out on her lawn with her cell phone number on it wanting to connect with strangers. It got weirder as it went on. I mentioned to her once that I liked thunderstorms and she became convinced that I could cause thunderstorms. At first I thought she was joking, but it started to weird me out. Then one night when I was sleeping over I noticed that she was just sitting in bed watching me. She put her hand on my heart and whispered that she could hear the beautiful fishes in my blood. That very morning, her father burst into her apartment yelling about her appointment with the psychiatrist that she kept avoiding. She told me that her parents and the doctors were trying to convince her that she had bipolar disorder, and wanted to shut her brain off. Long story short, her friends and family convinced her to go. She bravely took on her mental illness and got help before the manic episode got out of control, and now we are very close friends to this day. I bartended at a small dive bar years ago. It was late one night, and I had a lone female guest. She was probably middle-aged, polite and short while ordering her drink. I thought nothing strange or got no red flags, so I continued my closing duty, sweeping around the tables in particular, not behind the bar. I'm focused on cleaning and getting out of there, and I turn around to dump dustpan, and she's standing right behind me staring me dead in the eye. "Will you dance with me?" she asks in a slow, nervous manner. For the record, there is no music playing, and we're the only two living creatures in the building. I tell politely that I'm closing and cannot right now, and quickly put distance and walk behind the bar. In the 5 seconds I have to walk through the kitchen, this guest has walked back to her stool and begun hysterically crying at the top of her lungs. She asks me if I think she's ugly, fat, unattractive, a whore, and several more derogatory things which I deny and deflect. She screams and tells me she hates me and runs out of the bar. I wring the beer she drank half of up as a waste and lock the door. I continued to work there for 7 more years, and never saw this guest again. As a physical therapist, fresh out of PT school, I was tasked with massaging the piriformis muscle of a 40-something woman, who was in town on business. For those of you who don't know, the piriformis is located in the area of the butt. So, it was already dicey. She was wearing a skirt and a thong underneath. As I was massaging, she began verbally directing me. Lower. To the right. Lower. Right some more, etc. Essentially verbally moving my hands to her anus. As I was getting closer, I was also getting more uncomfortable. Finally I said, "This isn't where your piriformis muscle is." She basically proceeded to tell me I was incompetent, and that she has had this done many times, and I was the one that didn't know where the piriformis was. Then she threatened that she was friends with the owner, and if I didn't massage where she wanted, she was going to complain. I told her that was okay, and I didn't feel comfortable touching the area she was wanting me to massage. And I left the room. She left, and nobody ever mentioned it to me, and I never saw her again. Edit. I just remembered this bit. This was back in 2005, so nobody had smartphones yet. But she had a BlackBerry. And the whole time this was happening she was texting, emailing somebody on her BlackBerry. Which made the whole encounter that much more bizarre. Did some mushrooms when I was like 18 or so. Sat in the town center and the local crazy lady asked me, "So how long have you been dead?" Fucked my whole day up, man. Whoa. That's probably the worst thing anyone could say to you on shrooms. A girl once told me that she was jealous of her friend because she got raped and got a cute baby out of it. I don't think I ever felt less comfortable. What the F? I hate to tell you this, but Elle had to have an abortion, and it was yours. We never did more than kiss. I mean, I'm a pretty solid kisser, but not that good. I had a lady friend who was adamant she was pregnant with my child. I pulled her dad aside and explained what she had told me, expecting a lashing and how I'm gonna pay for this kid. He calmly goes, "She does this with everyone who wants to leave her, just walk away and have a good life." 100% wish he was my dad. Cool ass dude with a shit daughter. I stopped seeing this girl because she got a little stalkerish, and one day after getting home from walking my dog, Betsy, I got a text from her saying, "Betsy got so big." Proceeded to shut my blinds and deadbolt the front door. Well, that's going to make it harder for you to escape, and for anyone to see you struggle, since she's obviously already inside the house. Back in college I was at a study group and I found myself talking to this girl. Just talking about class and eventually just talking about random other stuff like life at school and favorite places to eat nearby. Then after a moment of silence she tells me that she wants to see me fight off a group of guys trying to attack her and she'd hold me while I was beaten up and bleeding on the floor. I mean, just randomly dropping that on someone when a minute ago we were talking about best places to get cheap food is a bit much. Edit, for the dozens of people asking. I just kinda brushed it off and awkwardly tried to turn the conversation to something not about me getting violently beat up. Also, I'd maybe talked to her a handful of times and always in class, and this was the first out of classroom conversation I'd had with her. I worked at a caviar bar in SF and it was basically cougar bait. One time this relatively older lady said, "You look just like my son. You should come home with me. B should not follow from A." I was sleeping with a woman in her 40s in my mid-20s. One day after sex she looked me deeply in the eye and said, "Wow. You really remind me of my son," with a big smile on her face and leaned in for a kiss. It was our last date. Creepiest? Well, there was one time a gal I was interested in told me about the time they'd gotten frisky with the family dog. I have never had interest in someone dry up so fast. Went on 3 dates and I tried to end it and she grabbed a knife and a bottle of pills and said, "We're gonna have some fun." Then she put the knife up to her neck and said, "Watch as it goes through the skin. I know where you live." She was a girl I had a huge crush on in high school. Then she realized what she said and was embarrassed and explained that her very good friend is my neighbor. It wasn't until years later that I realized she was probably trying to flirt in an awkward way and may have been interested in me. Oh boy. 2nd, 3rd grade, a girl a year ahead of me would force herself on me, anytime we were alone. Kissing and touching. Said I belonged to her. For obvious reasons I didn't realize it at the time, but as I got older, I realized that she was likely being sexually abused, and was just emulating what was happening to her. In a sense. Hope she's okay. Thought a family member was dying. Luckily they pulled through, and are still around, and an ex was consoling me. We were talking about getting back together, but I'd known she'd slept with a friend of mine while we were split. That's usually a deal breaker for me. I don't go after women my friends have been with. She knew this and initially claimed that he had raped her, then she backtracked soon afterwards. Very creepy, disturbing. A one-night stand claimed she was single, but I found out afterwards she had lied about that. She claimed to be allergic to condoms, and I stupidly went through with it after she assured me that she was on birth control. Her first words after I was finished was that she'd only been on birth control for a few days. To make matters worse, a few weeks later she claimed she was pregnant. Luckily a reverse image search showed that the ultrasound photo she'd sent me had been on the internet for a few years. She apparently was in a situation with a newborn and wanted out of her relationship, saw me as an opportunity. A girl insisted we have sex with the light off. I didn't know at first, but she was on her period. I could tell something was off and switch a light on, and she said, "You're murdering me with your cock." I mean, kind of funny, but yay. Mood killer. When I was trying to end a relationship, my at the time GF ran to the knife block and I had to wrestle it out of her hands. Called her family, and she ended up getting committed for a bit. Very sad. But she cheated, and I wanted out. So, yay. A woman I was chatting with about dating sent me a photo of her, her daughter, and her son naked in a bed together. The kids were 10-12, and although she claimed innocent nudism, the topic had never come up before. We'd been chatting for maybe a few months, and I just got this random nude photo of her family. Creeped me out something awful. I pretty much stopped talking to her after that. Edit. Oh. Remembered another one. We were both 18, met online. Decided on dinner, movie, hotel. It was about 30 minutes to get to her parents' house with my car. When I was about 5 minutes out she insisted that I meet her parents, and told me that they'd never let her leave without meeting me first. Considered just turning around, but figured from her parents' point of view that it would have been a massive creeper, D-bag move. I was pissed that it got sprung on me last minute, and thought it was manipulative, but I was pretty much there anyway, and gave her the benefit of the doubt, thought maybe they sprung it on her last minute. So I show up, and apparently the plan was for me to have dinner with them, a plan I wasn't aware of. While food was being cooked they put on Dirty Dancing, and my date, family is repeating lines, and singing along, as if it were the Rocky Horror Picture Show. The parents seemed to like me and said, "Well, that's one down, one to go," while pointing to their younger daughter, who did a mean SpongeBob impression. Like spot on. Crazy good. Next, my date disappears for a few minutes, retrieves a toddler, and plops him on my lap. In the toddler's hands was a photo album. He flipped through the book showing me his various baby pictures. I go, "Your baby brother's really cute." She goes, "This is my son." That's how I found out she had a child at 15/16. Pretty much the entirety of the date was spent with her family, and then I went home. I was done after that, and she wasn't thrilled that I was no longer interested. About a year later she messaged me to brag that she was dating someone new. She was taken off guard by me being friendly, and not jealous, upset for some reason. Anyway, she seemed starved for attention and basically told me the whole situation with her new BF. One thing of note, was that the BF was currently in jail, but was supposed to get out in a few months. During the chat, I realized that the dates didn't match up. The time that she claimed they began dating, he should have already been in jail. So I ask her about it, and she explains that they met through a prison pen pal exchange. Yup. That's how she met the new stepdad to her kid. Yikes. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Have a nice day.